sure you'll. I thought it was wonderful. But if Shabbat Shalom, everybody. If we're going to talk movies, though, I do highly recommend you see Maestro about Leonard Bernstein. And you can see it on Netflix, but I saw it in Red Bank on White Street. There's a little theater. It was fabulous. And then I also do recommend seeing Golda, which is on Netflix. It's about Golda Meir. It's unbelievable. Helen Mirren. And the other film I recommend seeing is Oppenheimer. Like, all three films were, like, unbelievable. So if we're giving that's my recommendations. So Shabbat Shalom, everyone. And, in Judaism, it's great because we get to say Happy New Year twice, right? Does anyone know what they call the New Year in Israel? This is a very obscure fact. They don't say, Happy Rosh Hashanah in Israel, or again. The secular New Year in Israel is called Sylvester. Sylvester. It's named after a Catholic monk. And I don't remember anything else about it. But it's not really a big deal in Jerusalem, the New Year, the secular New Year at all. But all the American immigrants definitely observe Sylvester, it's called. And so remember that if you're ever on Jeopardy, what is the name of the New Year in Israel? It is Sylvester. So I hope, and if you do win, I hope you'll remember all of us. So I thought we would start with an adaptation of a song. So please turn in your prayer book to Hine Matov. And now can't find it. There you go. Does everyone remember how to sing Hine Matov? Let's just do it from memory. Yes. Okay. So Hine Matov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad. But let's sing it to a familiar melody, okay? Hine Matov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hine Matov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Everyone knows what we're singing, right? Old Lang Syne. Okay, what page is that, Sheila?
188.
188.
Or
So,
128.
or 128? It could be, this prayer book duplicates things. So we'll try that again. Hine matov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad. 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 So this is the English part of it. Should old acquaintance be forgot and never brought to mind? Should old acquaintance be forgot and old lang syne? For old lang syne, my dear, for old lang syne, we'll take a cup of kindness yet for old lang syne. I hope that puts you in the mood for the new year, okay? And so I'm so glad to see people here tonight. And how about Lisa and David, you come help me light the candles, okay? We're on page 120. You guys are all dressed up and you look so terrific. Why mess it? Why waste this great look? Here we go. I am grateful you're here. Okay. Read that.
As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we, by our lives, give light to all who behold us.
As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we in our own day be among those who kindle light.
Okay, so you light this, and then you light light.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Got it.
All right. And then you light the candles first. It's the only prayer where you do the behavior and then say the prayer. We say together, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel Shabbat. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel Shabbat. All right, Lisa, since you have the good glasses, here you go. Okay.
The heavens and the earth were finished, all in an array. On the seventh day, God finished the work that God had been doing, and God ceased on the seventh day and from all the work that God had done. And God blessed the seventh day and declared it holy, because on it God ceased from all the work of creation that God had done.
Okay, you two each take a cup. All right, hold it up like the Statue of Liberty. Okay? And we all sing together. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav, v'ratzavanu, v'shabbat kodsho, v'ahava uvratzon hinilanu, zikaron l'maaseh v'reishit, ki hu yom tehila l'mikra'e kodesh, zecher l'tziat Nitzrayim, ki vanu b'charta, v'yotanu ki tashta mikol ha'amim, v'shabbat kodshecha, v'ahava uvratzon hinchaltanu, Baruch atah Adonai mekadosh Shabbat. Amen. Have a sip. L'chaim. Thank you for being such good sports.
So delicious.
You can have the rest. Grateful for you. Shabbat shalom. Okay. We're going to continue in our prayer books on page 146 with the call to worship. Please rise. Baruch et Adonai HaMevorach, Baruch Adonai HaMevorach leolam va'ed. Page 148, we're going to read the Hebrew together. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bidvaro ma'ariv aravim, b'chochma poteach she'arim, uvitvuna mishane itim, umachalif et hazmanim, umsader et hakochavim, b'mishmerotehem barakia kirtzono. Borei yom v'layla, golel or mipnei choshech, v'choshech mipnei or. Umavir yom umevi laila, umavdil ben yom uven laila, Adonai tsevaot shemo. El chai v'kayam, tamid yimloch aleinu leolam va'ed, Baruch atah Adonai, hama'ariv aravim. Page 150. Ahavat olam beit Yisrael, amcha ahavta, Torah mitzvot ukim umishpatim otanu limadeta. Al kein Adonai Eloheinu, b'shokbeinu u'b'kumeinu, nasiach b'chukecha, v'nismach b'divrei Toratecha, u'b'mitzvotecha, le'olam va'ed. Ki heim chayenu ve'orech yameinu, ve'orech yameinu, uvahem nege yomam, yomam v'layla, ve'avatecha, al tasir mimenu lo'olamim, Baruch ata Adonai, ohev amo Yisrael. Page 152. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem, Kevod Malechuto, Le'olam Vahed. Please be seated. We're on page 154. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha, B'chol levavecha, b'chol nafshecha, u'b'chol meodecha, v'hayu advarim ha'elem, asher nohi mitzavecha, hayom al levavecha, v'shinantam levanecha, v'dibarta bam, v'shivtecha b'beitecha, u'v'lechtecha v'derech, Ushokbecha uvkumecha, ukshartam leod al yadecha, vehayu letotafot beinenecha, uchtavtam al mezuzot beitecha, uvihisharecha, leman tizkeru, asitem et kol mitzotai, vitem kedoshim lelohechem, ani Adonai Elohechem, Asher hotzeiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim liot lachem le'Elohim ani Adonai Elohechem. Page 159. We read together in the English. Sing the song of men and women joined in understanding and respect, the song of God's miracles, an earth protected and cherished, a gift to our children and the generations to come. The song of a land once ravished by war, now quiet and content, her soldiers home to leave no more, the song of a world redeemed, the song of peace. This is our prayer always and especially now. We sing together on page 158. Micha mocha b'henim Adonai, Micha mocha nedar b'kodesh, Nora tehilot, osei fele, Nora tehilot, osei fele, Micha mocha b'henim Adonai, Micha mocha nedar b'kodesh. Wayne, I have to say you were right. I thought there'd only be 5 people here tonight. So, Wayne, how many?
Higher than what I said.
Yeah, Wayne said at least a dozen. So, 20. That's actually unbelievable. That's pretty for New Year's Eve. That's great.
Good way to end 2023.
What'd you say?
Good way to end 2023.
It's a good way. It's a good way to end. And remember, you want to end the way you begin. Like the way you end matters as much as the way you begin. So always finish well. So we're going to read together in the English on page 161 at the middle of the page. Give us a place to rest, Adonai our God. Bring us into shelter in the soft, long evening shadows of your truth. For with you are true protection and safety, and in your presence are acceptance and gentle love. Watch over us as we go forth. Prepare for us as we return. Spread over us your shelter of peace. over all we love, over Jerusalem and yours. Baruch atah Adonai, haporei sukkot shalom aleinu, ve'al kol amo Yisrael, ve'al Yerushalayim. And even if you don't really know Hebrew, you know the holiday of Sukkot, and this prayer says, haporei sukkot, that's the sukkah, you know, that when we build the sukkah, that's that shelter that we build outside, and that's supposed to keep us safe from the elements, and our prayers too, hopefully, and our faith, and things will keep us safe from the elements. But just being together in community, there are a lot of studies on this about what makes longevity, and having a community and people who you care about and you know they care about you is definitely shown to be important in our survival. So that's a very important part of being here together tonight. We're going to continue on page 162 with V'shamru. V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. Everyone always thinks that V'shamru has been around since the beginning of time. It was probably only written about 50 years ago by a rabbi in California. And allegedly, he doesn't like it sung the way we sang it. He likes it sung very slowly. V'shamru. Anyway, so supposedly he, that's what happens when you create something. You know, it takes on a life of its own, like if you have children. So, they take on a life of their own. So, but I just thought that was interesting because people always think that piece has been around forever. We're going to continue on page 164 with our Amidah, which means our standing prayer. So if you're able, please rise. Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi hagid tehilatecha. Adonai, open my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu v'Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzhak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel v'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanara, El Elyon, Gomer Chasadim Tovim, V'Konei Hakol, V'Zoher Chasevot V'Imahot, Mevi Gula Livnei V'neihem, Leman Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Ozer Moshiach Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham, De'ezrat Sarah, Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, V'chei Kol atah, Rav Lehoshia, Mashiv haruach umorid hagashem, Mechalkel chayim dechesed, מחיה הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא כהנים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר, מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומידו מלך ממית ומחיה, ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה לחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני, מחיה הכל. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהלוך סלה. ברוך אתה אדוני, האל הקדוש. Please be seated. Just turn back for 1 second to 166 and just notice the list, okay? Elohei Avraham, Yitzhak, Yaakov, Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, and Leah. Just remember that list of people for later on, okay? No, there's not going to be a test, but there'll be a reference, okay? A reference back to it. So, I'm an easy grader anyway. Just by coming here tonight, you get an A+. We read together at the top of 173. May these hours of rest and renewal open our hearts to joy and our minds to truth. May all who struggle find rest on this day. May all who suffer find solace. May all who hurt find healing on this day. May all who despair find purpose. May all who hunger find fulfillment on this day. And may this day fulfill its promise. Baruch atah Adonai, Mekadesh HaShabbat. We continue on page 176. Every Shabbat has a prayer of thanksgiving in it. And we read together in the middle of the page and then jump down to the bottom. Together in English. We acknowledge with thanks that you are Adonai, our God, and the God of our ancestors forever. You are the rock of our lives and the shield of our salvation in every generation. Let us thank and praise you for our lives which are in your hand, for our souls which are in your care, and for your miracles that we experience every day, and for your wondrous deeds and favors at every time of day, evening, morning, and noon. O good one, whose mercies never end, O compassionate one, whose kindness never fails, we forever put our trust in you. To the bottom, O God, our Redeemer and Helper, let all who live affirm you and praise your name in truth. Blessed are you, Adonai, your name is goodness, and you are worthy of thanksgiving. Baruch atah Adonai, hatov shimcha u'lecha na'eh lehodot. Okay, here I'll give you a little test right now. So why does it say evening, morning, and noon? Usually it says, morning, noon, and night, right? That's okay. Okay, Lori, you know the answer? Everything starts at sundown. Exactly. Do you know why? You know why?
Created darkness and light the first day.
Right. In the creation story in the Torah, it says there was evening, there was morning, a first day. So all Jewish observances start on the evening, okay? And so there's always, Erev, Shabbat is in the evening, Erev Sukkot, Erev Rosh Hashanah, Erev Yom Kippur, everything's Erev in Judaism. Christianity only adopted that for one holiday, and that was Christmas Eve. But all other Christian holidays really aren't evening starts. But that's something unique about Judaism. And it all comes from the creation story. But you're so smart. So many of you raised your hand. So impressed, really impressed. So let's sing together our prayer for peace on page 178. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Le'olam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Le'olam. Ki atahu melech adon lechol hashalom. Ki atahu melech adon lechol hashalom. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha tasim le'olam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha, tasim le'olam. V'tov b'necha nevarech et Amcha Yisrael. B'chol neit u'b'chol shah b'shlomecha. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha, tasim le'olam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha, tasim le'olam. Tasim le'olam. Tasim le'olam. In Israel, every hour on the hour, there is a news broadcast. It is on the radio. And when you live in Israel, you usually go on the bus, if you're a poor graduate student, and you take the bus everywhere. And in Israel, as soon as the radio goes on, everyone is quiet, even when they're not in the middle of a military event. They're always quiet. And the radio broadcasts always begin like this: Shalom Rav Yisrael, which means unfathomable, enormous peace, Israel. And then they give the news of the hour, and people listen in because even if it's not a war, sometimes your unit's being called up. So you have to listen closely all the time until you're not in Miluim anymore. And a lot of people serve in the military until they're in their 40s or 50s. So you're always waiting to see if your unit's been called up. And that's all the time in Israel, always like that. And we're so lucky here in the United States that we don't have to live in that kind of environment. And I pray that this will soon turn back into an exercise for Israel and peace for the entire Middle East and all of whom are suffering there. And we pray now silently. Ose shalom bimramav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, yaseh shalom, Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. 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 We turn to page 362 in our prayer book. One of the unique things about Reform Judaism is that we read Torah on Friday night, which is completely non-traditional in the entire pantheon of Jewish history. It started in the 1800s as we emerged as a movement. Judaism traditionally reads the Torah on 3 days: Saturday, Monday, and Thursday. And the reason it's read on Monday and Thursday is because that's when everybody gathered in the marketplace. So it's very, very practical. We read Torah then. The men of the Great Assembly were involved in these decisions, these people who used to be in charge and made all the decisions. So although it was a huge shift, since most Reformed Jews come to synagogue on Friday night, same thought, we'll do it Fridays then. And so that's how the tradition emerged. But if you grew up in a conservative synagogue, which many of us did, it was always on Saturday. So that's why we do it. It's because the people come now, and it's just a practical application of Judaism. So please turn to page 364, and I ask you to please rise.
ששערים ראשיכם וכי נשאו פתחי עולם ויבוא מלך הכבוד מהו זה מלך הכבוד אדוני צבאות ומלך הכבוד סלע ומלך הכבוד Sela, Sela, Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh Shemo. Lecha Adonai Hagedona, V'Hagevura, V'Tiferet, V'Hanitzach V'Hahod, Ki Hol Bashamayim Uvaretz, Ki Hol Bashamayim Uvaretz, Lecha Adonai Amalacha, V'Mi Nasi, Lechol Rosh. Al shlosha devarim, al shlosha devarim, al shlosha devarim, ha'olam omid. Al shlosha devarim, al shlosha devarim, al shlosha devarim, ha'olam omid. Al haTorah, ve'al ha'avodah, Ve'al gemilut chasadim, al haTorah, ve'al ha'avodah, ve'al gemilut chasadim. Ve'ha'ernenu b'toratecha, v'daharbek lebeinu b'mitzvotecha, ve'yachid levaveinu le'ahava, u'yir'ah et shemecha, ve'lo
So sometimes I think about how people perceive things. So since I was a very, very little girl, I sang. I used to walk around the house singing. That probably isn't a huge surprise to any of you, given my profession. And I liked singing so much, and my parents thought I had a nice voice. You know, when you're Jewish parents, your child shows interest in anything. What do? You get them lessons, okay? Right? You get them lessons. So I first started taking voice lessons when I was 12 years old with Mrs. Helen Fenstermacher. And Mrs. Fenstermacher, who her husband was the conductor of the high school choir, and she was the voice teacher. And Mrs. Fenstermacher was from North Carolina, but she'd gone to Juilliard. So she had a very, very thick Southern accent. And she used to have really short blonde hair and fake eyelashes, and she used to look like Tweety Bird, kind of. Anyway, she was a great person. She made a huge impact on my life, and she started teaching me about how to sing. And by the way, I still take voice lessons every week. When you sing, you have to study the rest of your life. So something I didn't learn till I was much older, and you might know this, but you might not know this. Your vocal cords are only this long. Just this long. And the difference between a man's vocal cords is that his are a little fatter.
And since they're fatter, and we're talking millimeters, they wave more slowly. And that's why a man has a deeper voice, because his vocal cords are waving a little more slowly. And a woman's vocal cords are moving twice as fast. So that's why our voices are an octave higher. That's also why women often injure their voices more than men, because they're moving twice as fast. So there's more cause for injury. And since they're skinnier, and you could be a very big person, but your vocal cords don't change size. That's why you could meet a guy who's this skinny and he's a huge, deep voice. And you could be a huge woman and have the high, tiny voice. Your vocal cords have absolutely nothing to do with your physical structure. But the thing I didn't know till I was older is, I don't know why I thought this, but I thought your vocal cords went up and down, but they actually go this way and then the air goes through them, and then they move, and that's how sound comes out. So the reason I guess I said all this is because, this is sort of one of the miracles of our body, right? And one of the things that differentiates us from other species is that humans have the ability to speak, right? Now, animals communicate, and they probably say things, but they don't communicate like us. And words are very powerful. And that's one of the reasons we read the Torah. So Rabbi Prezan taught me this. She said that when we pray, we speak to God. But when we read the Torah, God speaks to us. And so, because we say that God wrote the Torah. Truthfully, human beings wrote the Torah, but it was divinely inspired. So we didn't know who was coming tonight, so I didn't assign anyone to the Aliyah blessing. So in the spirit of the holiday, why don't you all do the blessing? You can do it from your seat. And you can find the blessing itself on page 368. And unfortunately, we're getting new prayer books and new Torahs. Actually, Rabbi Edelman has secured them from her former synagogue, since most of ours were destroyed in a flood. So she's bringing us their prayer books and their Torah commentaries. But if you want to read along with me, I'm on page 316 in the Torah commentary. And we're in the very, very, very end of the book of Genesis. So there's Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy. So we're the end of the first book. And so at the end of each book, you say a little phrase, which we'll say. But I'm going to be on page 316, Genesis 50, starting with line 24, sentence 24, very end of the book. All right, so let's say the blessing first. Baruch hu et Adonai hamvarach. Baruch Adonai hamvarach leolam va'ed. Baruch Adonai hamvarach leolam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten ha'Torah. Again, I'm on page 316. And sentence 24. Vayomer Yosef el achav anochi meit ve'Elohim pakod yifkod etchem ve'ala etchem min haaretz hazot el haaretz asher nishba la'Avraham le'Yitzhak u'Yakov v'shva ha'Yakov et b'nei Yisrael lemor pakod yifkod Elohim etchem v'alitam et atzmotai mizeh vayamod Yosef ben Meha ve'eser shanim echantu aten ve'yasem maron b'Mitzrayim. Then before we say the blessing, we say Chazak, Chazak, v'nitz chazek, which could be translated in numerous ways, but I like this translation, again from Rabbi Prezan. Be strong, and we will strengthen one another. So now we'll say the blessing after.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torat emet, v'chayei olam nagta b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah. So it says, at length Joseph said to his brothers, I'm about to die. God will surely take notice of you and bring you up from this land to the land which he promised to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, because they were not in Israel again, because now they were back in Egypt. So Joseph made his sons swear, saying, when God has taken notice of you, you shall carry my bones up from here. And Joseph died at the age of 110 years. He was embalmed and placed in a coffin in Egypt. Okay, so if any of you have ever been to the Israel Museum, they have these huge, they look like a sarcophagus, these huge things. But in Judaism, we don't really embalm. And what they were is ossuaries. And ossuaries are these enormous containers where, you're living in Egypt and a lot of people die. So they start putting all the ancestors, their bones, into the ossuary. And then when they went back to Israel, they brought back these ossuaries with the remains of their ancestors in those things. Because being buried in Israel is a wonderful honor if a person can be buried in Israel. And Joseph wanted to be buried back in Israel. So when I lift the Torah, notice the little space. That's the start of the new book. Please rise.
V'zot haTorah asher sam Moshe lifnei bnei Yisrael al pi Adonai b'yad Moshe. V'zot haTorah asher sam Moshe lifnei bnei Yisrael al pi Adonai b'yad Moshe. Lai 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 lai. Lai 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 lai. Lai 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 lai. Lai 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 lai.
So at this time in our service, when the Torah is in our midst, we like to pray for everybody who needs our healing. Prayers for healing? Did anybody pick up this green paper on the way in? If not, you can go get it, because it has our prayer for healing on it. And it's a duet. Here, you can help me sing it tonight. Here, do you guys have one? Here we go. Okay, that's good. See, Bob, you went to kindergarten. You learned to share. That's so nice. So tonight, we are especially praying for Rabbi Robert Orak, Martha Brandween, Nancy Keller-Coffey, Robert Summers, Jessica Knight, Niles Chopper, Judith Landau, Pam Friedman, Larry Blumenfeld, Eric Blumenfeld, Larry Boxman, Jean O'Connor, Myra Taxa, Bernard Shagan, Linda Kaplan, Baby Mark Y, Michael Gindy, Marion Cardenas, Michael Lynch, Marty Kanarick, Myrna Hochman, Antoinette Palmiero, Lisa Calderwood, Yardena Batsivia, Yochanan Ben Sarah. And if there are any other names you are thinking of, please say them. I'll start over on this side of the room.
Baby Ethan. David Hendrickson. Kent Taxel.
Andy Lippman.
Nick Forte, Dolores Renz.
Barry Gilchrist, Gary Arndt, Suzanne Arndt, and Kelly Howard.
Are there any others? There are also people who ask me to privately pray for them, and I want everyone who's asked me to do that you know that I am praying for you every day.
Dear God of our ancestors, dear God of our ancestors, help us renew our faith.
Help us renew our faith.
Grant us a perfect healing.
Grant us a perfect healing.
Bring peace to all our days.
Bring peace to all our days.
Elna rifanala, rifanalanu. Elna rifanala, rifanalanu. Restore our strength of body.
Restore our strength of body.
Help clarify our minds.
Help clarify our minds.
Refresh our tired spirits.
Refresh our tired spirits.
Rejuvenate our light.
Rejuvenate our life.
Elna rifanala, rifanalanu. Elna rifanala, rifanalanu. Thank you for all these blessings. Thank you for all these
blessings.
throughout our days and nights.
Throughout our days and nights,
We celebrate the journey,
we celebrate the journey,
this precious gift of life.
this precious gift of
Elna rifanala, rifanalanu. Elna rifanala, rifanalanu. May they speedily and soon be healed. Amen. We return the Torah to the ark. It's Chaim lama chazikim ba v'Torah mechecha me'ushar derachecha darkeinu v'chol netivotecha shalom Ashivenu Adonai Elecha benashuva Hadesh Amenu kekedem Hadesh Malkeinu kekedem. So today I want to share an experience that's going to resonate very deeply for many of us in a historical and sacred site in Israel. And it's a place in Israel that holds immense significance across various faiths. In this week's portion, Parshat Vayechi, we talk about the caves of Machpelah. Specifically, Joseph instructed his children, or his future, they're not your ancestors, but whoever comes after, your progeny, to bury him in that area. So what are the caves of Machpelah? Imagine for a minute that the town of Woodbridge, New Jersey, where the graves of my parents and Harold's are, is now under the control of a foreign hostile government. And my attempts to visit this gravesite have been thwarted because of a series of changes to this area. This area now has, this very spot, a church built over their graves. Then the church was converted to a mosque, then back to a church, then to a mosque, finally a shift to Jewish control, and now today that spot is under the Palestinian Authority. And if all that were the case in Woodbridge, it would now be impossible for me to visit my parents' final resting place. This is basically the story of the caves of Machpelah. And it's detailed at first in early Genesis. The biblical account tells of Abraham's journey to secure a burial site for his wife Sarah when she died. So amid negotiations with the people who lived there, who were the Hittites, Abraham insists on purchasing the cave of Machpelah and the land that it sits on at the full price to establish a permanent burial place for his family. The people of the time, the Hittites, told him he could have it for free, but he specifically bought it. And this transaction is the very first kind we see anything like this in the Torah, and it emphasizes the importance of honoring our loved ones who die with reverence and dignity.
Now, the caves of Machpelah, which we call Machpelah, for Muslims are called the sanctuary of Abraham. And not only does it hold significance for Muslims, but also for Christianity, because our story is also sacred to Christians. So over time, as you heard, this site has been the series of constructions and reconstructions with all the different powers that control it. But amidst all of these three changes, all these three faiths and all of these changes, the access for Jews to Machpelah for thousands of years has not been possible until 1967. So moving throughout the story of history, when it was Christian and then Muslim and then Muslim and then Christian and Muslim, there's conflicts at each spot. So when the Christians built they started with just a large rectangular enclosure, and it was dating from the time of King Herod. And then under the Byzantine rule, they built a larger, much more beautiful basilica on the site. And then under a different ruler, the Ibrahimi Mosque was built under a Muslim conquest. And then by the 12th century, the mosque was captured under the Crusaders, but retaken in the year 1188 by Saladin, a Muslim conqueror, who again converted the structure back into a mosque. And unfortunately, throughout, whether it was a church or a mosque, Jews could not go there. So what's there? We'll get to that. If you move ahead to the 20th century, after the Six-Day War, the previously occupied West Bank is now controlled by Israel. So since 1967, after that war, we gained control of the area that had been controlled by the Jordanians, the West Bank. And then, under Israeli control, something happened that had never happened before. Machpelah was divided up for all faiths. Never has that happened. So who's at Machpelah? Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Sarah, Leah, Rebecca, not Rachel. Rachel died somewhere else. And then surrounding it are others as well. So this is a very, very significant burial site for Jewish people. Literally, when I talk about the graves of my parents, these are the parents of Judaism. So the Israelis, when they got it in 67, divided it up for the three faiths. They divided it up so that Jews, Muslims, and Christians could all go there. And this had never happened before. Because first, when Machpelah was created, when Abraham bought it, you had the Hittites, the Semitic religions, and you had Judaism. But Christianity and Islam didn't exist. So these are, remember, later on the scene. So in 1968, so a year later, they said that Jews could go to them more often. They expanded it. So at first they said the Jews could go there at Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. But then when the Israelis expanded a year later, this precipitated a terrorist attack by the Palestinians on October 9th, which injured 47 Israelis. And then there was a second bombing on November 4th, which wounded another 6 people. But in 1972, undaunted, the Israeli government increased the Jewish prayer area. So at first it was more of a Muslim prayer area and then a small Jewish prayer area, and the Christians could come to all of it, and now they enlarged it a little. That made Muslims very angry, and so for 4 years there was a lot of back and forth, and then in 1976 there was literally a fight between Muslim and Jewish worshipers, and during that fight, the Muslim holy book, the Quran, was torn. And Muslim and Arabic leaders, they went to Hebron the next day. And it got so crazy that they had to have a curfew. And the Palestinians call that event the the profaning of the Quran. It was very, very significant to them. And the tomb was closed, and they had curfew. And then a few days later, 200 Arab youths entered the tomb and destroyed all the Torahs and all the prayer books. So you can see a lot of conflict in Machpelah. And then in 1980, there was another terrorist attack on Jews who were worshiping, returning from prayers at the tomb, and 6 were killed and 17 were wounded. And none of these attacks were ever condemned by the Palestinian Authority or Yasser Arafat, who was in control at the time. And then, quite tragically, in 1994, an Israeli originally from Brooklyn, Dr. Baruch Goldstein, carried out a terrorist attack of a mass shooting in the Ibrahimi Mosque, right there, during the holy month of Ramadan. And he opened fire on Palestinians who were praying, and he killed 29 people and children and wounded over 125 people. And this attack was swiftly condemned by the Israeli authorities. And I don't remember if you remember the speech at the time of the prime minister, but he said, "We spit you out," talking about the Israelis who had moved there who were so militant. Only under Israeli authority, attempts were made to facilitate shared access among the different faiths. But we have to really be realistic here. Sharing has not worked very well in this spot. And it's a very difficult story to hear, and it makes me very sad. The significance of Machpelah goes so much further, beyond being the central grave sites of our forefathers and foremothers. It also represents this area of conflict and intolerance and struggle for control, and sadly, our failure to work together. So for many of us, Baruch Goldstein is a terrible person. But for some Israelis, he was a hero. And there were people who had a picture of him on their wall in their living room. So the same as Muslim people revere people who have killed the Jews, so we have that aspects of that in our own world as well. Maybe not us, but people who are Jewish. In fact, one of the government leaders, Ben Gvir, right now in Israel, was a very, very right-wing guy. As soon as he ran for office, he took the picture of Baruch Goldstein out of his living room. It's a very sore spot for Arabs and for Jews, this area. So as people of faith, it's really important to learn from these turbulent histories. And we're still commanded to aspire towards peace and unity and mutual respect. And today the reality is that this site is restricted. We can't really go very easily anymore. It's under the Palestinian Authority. It's the area we gave back. Jews and Christians really can't go there, and it's very difficult to visit safely. If you want to go, you have to make an appointment to go, and you have to go with armed guards. It's very, very difficult to go there and not safe. I don't recommend going. In conclusion, we are faced again with this sacred space that's just inaccessible to us. Even though we tried to share it, it didn't work out. Israel gave back this land, though, in order to create peace, with the goal that maybe someday we could work something out. So the question I think we all have to ask ourselves is, would I give back the site where my parents are buried in order to make peace, understanding I could never go back to see them again? I don't know. And I'm privileged I never have to make that choice. That's not going to happen in Woodbridge, New Jersey. But this is the choice that Israel has to make over and over and over. So as we reflect on the struggles and the violence surrounding the caves of Machpelah, which have nothing to do with the conflict that's going on today in Gaza because this is the West Bank we're talking about, not Gaza. It illustrates how complex a navigation this is for the people who live in that region, and how incredibly dangerous it is that people in our country and abroad speak with authority about geopolitics and know nothing about the nuances that predicate all of these discussions. And it's very, very important for us to continue to learn from people who are truly educated on these subjects, and to encourage people who don't know to also hear from these people who are true authorities on the subjects, rather than getting our information, as many of us do, on social media. And I tell you, as I reflected on the caves of Machpelah in this parsha, I said to myself, I'm praying for a different future. And I pray, and I think we all pray, that it will be a better time for all soon. We say Shabbat Shalom. Okay, I'm going back over to my side of the bed. Here we go. Every Jewish service ends with remembrance, remembering of those who came before us. Please turn to page 583. Let's read responsively. I'll start. In the rising of the sun and in its going down, we remember them. Of the wind. In the opening of buds and in the rebirth of spring, we remember them.
In the blueness of the sky and the warmth of summer, we remember them.
In the rustling of the leaves and in the beauty of autumn, we remember them.
In the beginning of the year, when it ends, we remember them.
When we are weary and in need of strength, we remember them.
When we have lost the sacred heart, we remember them.
When we have joys we yearn to share, we remember them. Tonight, we are remembering, in the period of Shloshim, people who have passed within the last month, Martin Gale, Mark Best, Rabbi David Ellenson, Cantor Judith Ovadia, and the annual yahrzeit of Samuel Averin, Goldie Bialy, Rachel Brandel, Michael Brightman, Selma Burtis, Baldwin Davidson, Sylvia Davis, Herbert Friend, Leonard Gettleson, Evelyn Anna Rowe Gilstein, Edith R. Ginsburg, Rose Hildenbrand, Samuel Aaron Janney, Sal Katz, Esther Komar, Joseph Lansky, Laura G. Miller, Marshall Newhouser, Leetris Peltzman, Herman Pernick, Hyman Reisner, Jonathan Matthew Reiter, Betty Rivkin, Howard Semmer, Sylvia Schertzer, Gertrude Schneider, Harry Swirsky, Muriel Turk, Joseph Weisvogel, Sam Weshnak, Morris Zaslow. If there are any other names that you are remembering tonight, please say their names.
George Weiss.
There are a lot of empty spaces in this congregation. We remember those people with so much love. Please rise, say the Kaddish together, page 598. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei Rabbah,
Bialma divrach hirte viamlich malchute. V'chayechon v'yomechon v'chaye dechol be Israel. V'agala v'zman kari v'yimru amen. Yehe shmei rabba mevarach leolam ulamei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. Hadar v'yitaleh v'yital shmei dekudasha b'richu. Leila min kol birchata v'shirata. Tushbechata v'nechemata, da'amiram be'alma v'yimru amen. Yehe shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'yimru amen. Osei shalom b'mramav, hu ya'asei shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'yimru amen. Osei shalom b'mramav, hu ya'asei shalom. Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'yimru amen. Please be seated. We invite Wayne Hallard to share some important announcements with us.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat
And
Shalom.
on behalf of Monmouth Reformed Temple, I'd like to welcome you for joining us here tonight via live stream and in our sanctuary. We have some announcements for this evening. We stand with Israel in this perilous time. Our tzedakah box donations will support Magen David Adom. Magen David Adom is Israel's national emergency, medical, disaster, ambulance, and blood bank service. This charity gets the money to those directly in need within hours. Please note that the MRT office is closed this past week. We reopen on Tuesday next week. For more information on the following events, they can be found in our weekly e-blast. Want to learn more about Judaism or looking to convert? Beginning on January 4th, join Rabbi Edelman on Thursday evenings at 7 p.m. on Zoom for her Judaism 101 class. MRT is looking for adults to be part of our Purim Spiel featuring the music of Elton John. Please let Cantor Clissold know if you're interested. We do have a few of our regulars that will not be able to attend this year.
Yes, they're going on a cruise.
They're going on a cruise. So
You should have the spiel on the cruise.
we need to have the stand-ins to step up. Save the date for our MLK Justice Shabbat service on January the 12th. Our March 10th MRT will host a congregational trip to the Weitzman National Museum of American Jewish History in Philadelphia, RSVP to Leah Hecht by February 1st. And last week, I took a little privilege and I talked to you folks about Elliot Femelot's meditation series. I did have some people ask me more about it after the service, and we did have another member join us this morning. So it helped.
Tell us again about it, Wayne.
Well, no, I've got some other things to talk about.
Well, but I think people should know about the meditation too.
Yeah,
But go ahead. You do
medi-
what you want.
Okay. So in a couple days, most of us will be making our New Year's resolutions, which none of us will keep. I mean, I'm the poster child for that. My trip to the gym is when my car goes past it. My losing the weight is just never happening. I went from the six-pack abs to the keg, so it just doesn't work. But one thing that we all can do, and I encourage you to, is try one thing that maybe you haven't done in a long time or haven't done at all with the temple here. Whether it means going to an adult ed function that we have, or something from social action, or working in the garden, or just about anything that the temple is involved in that you haven't done or would like to do, pick up the phone, call the people, and join in. It's a wonderful experience. It's a great family to be a part of. So with that, I'll finish up with MRT continues to engage together in meaningful ways. We would love for more people to invest in our mission of connecting as a Jewish community. We welcome your investment of time as well as donations to help us grow. For more information on joining our MRT family or making a donation, please contact Jordana in our office or visit our website, www.monmouthreformedtemple.org. Rabbi Edelman and Cantor Clissold are always available as well. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Thank you, Wayne. Always wonderful job. Does anyone else have any other announcement?
The murder mystery is March 9th.
What is the murder mystery, Dean?
It is, we bring in a professional group, and it's going to be a fun evening / fundraiser, social event, and of course, any Jewish event, there'll be food there.
Wait, when is it? When is it again?
March 9th.
March 9th, everybody?
So,
Well, that'll be
put
fun.
on your calendar, please.
The temple board is supporting this, and Lynn Shapiro's helping to organize it with a committee. I don't know, must have been a little mouse that sampled the challah right before the service. I don't know who did that. But I tried it for you guys, and it's excellent. So let's do the motzi, and then please come next door. There's some nice cookies, chocolate-covered pretzels, and I have even more in the kitchen. Somebody in our congregation is a dentist, and he gave so many referrals to the oral surgeon that the oral surgeon, Bob Hayes, this is Bob Hayes, the oral surgeon sent him a ton of baked goods, which you wonder, about dentists and oral surgeons doing all this. And Mary Beth and Bob brought all of this to us very generously. So I even have food for you to take home. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. Happy New Year and Shabbat Shalom. I think what you said is important.